this week's politically unstable segment. I'm joined with Mike Davis, the founder and president of the Article 3 Project. Hi, Mike. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, and thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. So we want to kind of dive into President Trump's legal problems. Given all the polls, he's the front runner, the GOP front runner for the presidential contest for 2024.
Most likely will get the nomination. But a lot of people, he has 91 indictments out against him right now. I'd like you not to walk through all of them, but, in your opinion, or in your legal opinion, which ones are potentially hazardous for him and that he could get ensnarled in out of all of them?
Well, I would say this. The Democrats have brought bogus impeachments against Trump for nonsense. They brought 4 bogus indictments against Trump for non-crimes. They have illegally gagged him twice in 2 of these criminal cases. They're trying to bankrupt him and destroy his business and livelihood in New York with a bogus civil fraud lawsuit for the non-fraud of a businessman paying back sophisticated Wall Street banks in full on time with interest as agreed. And now they're pursuing their legal Hail Mary because all this backfired and Trump's actually beating President Biden like a drum on November 5th, 2024. So they're throwing their legal Hail Mary to take President Trump off the ballot under a post-Civil War constitutional amendment to disqualify Confederate sympathizers and soldiers who engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the United States. Apparently, if you can't beat Trump, you just need to disqualify him. This is all going to backfire, and it's going to backfire spectacularly on the Democrats. He's going to be the president on January 20th, 2025.
Well, I mean, polls do show that. There's been ad testing, 3 different ads that focus on Donald Trump's legal problems. And instead of, voters, rejecting him, they seem to embrace him even more because they do see these as politically motivated, as, Joe Biden being the number one political enemy of Donald Trump, trying to take him out via the legal process. It seems like this is a lot of kangaroo courts, like Banana Republic like stuff. But on the 14th Amendment issue, Marjorie Taylor Greene also was, she went to court and battled this because they wanted to take her off the ballot for causing an insurrection. Certain states are already going after, like Michigan is pursuing this legally. What is Donald Trump's recourse? And is there a potential that his name won't be on the ballot, on the statewide ballot in 2024?
There's a very good chance that the Democrats are going to try this because they're doing this. I spend most of my time in Colorado, and there was a trial with this Democrat judge in the Denver District Court, Sarah Wallace. The Democrats and Trump fake Republicans brought a lawsuit out here in Colorado and said that January 6th was somehow an insurrection. And I would ask this: how many insurrectionists go unarmed into an insurrectionist? And how many insurrectionists get to the Senate floor of a nation's capital and walk through velvet ropes, follow police direction, and not burn down the damn place? And how many insurrectionist leaders, like they think Trump is, want to send over 10,000 National Guard troops to put down their insurrection? But Nancy Pelosi and D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser denied that request. What happened on January 6th was a lawful protest that got out of control and devolved into a riot. It was not an insurrection, right? And there is zero evidence of insurrection, despite the fact that Democrats have spent tens of millions of dollars with their January 6th committee, and Jack Smith and the Biden Justice Department have spent tens of millions of dollars. If there were evidence of insurrection, they would have found it and they would have charged President Trump. Instead, what you have are these Democrat operatives and these Democrat judges and these Democrat states, like in Colorado, and particularly in Denver, Colorado, the bluest of all blue, and they're going to try to take President Trump off the ballot by dusting off a 155-year-old 14th Amendment passed after the Civil War and say that Trump is disqualified under this provision. What happened with this 14th Amendment is after the Civil War, Congress passed and the states ratified the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments to outlaw slavery, to guarantee equal protection and due process to the freed slaves, and to give voting rights to freed male slaves. what was happening is the Confederate sympathizers were winning office across America, and they were undermining the post-Civil War reconstruction effort and undermining the Union. So Congress included Section 3 of the 14th Amendment to disqualify those who engaged in insurrection or rebellion. But that's not self-executing, meaning under Section 5 of the 14th Amendment, Congress has to pass a federal criminal statute to enforce Section 3's disqualification of rebellion, disqualification for insurrection or rebellion, and Congress did that. This was a case that was tested back in 1869 by then Chief Justice Solomon Chase. He said that, again, this is not self-executing. Congress has to pass a federal criminal statute. Congress did that. Congress passed the Ku Klux Klan statute in 1870 that included this provision to disqualify these insurrectionists or people who engaged in insurrection or rebellion. That was last updated in 1948. It's still on the books. So if you want to disqualify anyone, including Trump or Marjorie Taylor Greene or anyone else, you have to have a grand jury indict them for this under this federal criminal statute, federal grand jury, federal criminal statute for insurrection or rebellion. A federal prosecutor has to bring these charges. They have to get a jury to find the defendant guilty with evidence beyond a reasonable doubt. The trial judge has to convict. That conviction has to be upheld on appeal. And that is the only way that you can disqualify someone for running for office or holding office under the 14th Amendment. But the Democrats are ignoring that.
They're just going to a Democrat judge in Colorado. This judge just got appointed to the bench. The Democrat governor picked her in August of 2023 with the effective start date of of 2022 with the effective start date of January 2023. In October of 2022, this Democrat judge designee hadn't even started yet, donated to an anti-Trump January 6th PAC with its mission to chase Republicans out of office who supported Trump on January 6th. And now she is presiding over an anti-Trump January 6th trial. She has a clear conflict of interest. She's clearly going to kick him off the ballot. Oral argument or closing argument is November 15th. She's promised to rule by Friday, November 17th by close of business. She's going to kick him off the ballot. That's going to be a precedent that other states use to throw him off the ballot, and the Supreme Court's going to have to decide this case.
Now, is the Supreme Court going to be able to decide this case before the 2024 election next year?
Well, I mean, so what happens in Colorado is this is an election challenge under Colorado law. So it goes from this Denver District Court, Sarah Wallace, who's clearly biased, clearly should have recused, clearly going to kick Trump off the ballot under the disqualification clause of the 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, under a laughably stupid legal theory. It goes on an immediate appeal to the Colorado Supreme Court because it's an election challenge. It skips the Court of Appeals. The Colorado Supreme Court is stacked with leftists because Republicans stopped winning elections out here in Colorado when the Democrats went to all-mail ballots and they legalized weed, and every dirtball from New York and California moved here. So this is a deep blue state. It's a lost cause. And so at that point, when the Colorado Supreme Court affirms what this Democrat district court judge in Denver did to disqualify Trump, the Supreme Court has discretionary review, meaning the Supreme Court does not have to take this case, but the Supreme Court is going to have to take this case because these are Republic-ending tactics by Democrats. If they think that they can impeach a president twice and indict him 4 times and bankrupt him and destroy his business, and if that doesn't work, you can just throw him off the ballot, even though he's the leading presidential candidate and the American people want President Trump back in the White House, according to all current polling. If Democrats think that they can do that, the Supreme Court lets that happen, we're going to lose our country, because that is not going to stand in this country, that you can just take a presidential candidate off the ballot under a bogus legal theory.
Now, I mean, let's say he is taken off the ballot. Could he be written in? Are they, the Trump campaign organizing a massive write-in for Donald Trump, and would that qualify under the legal provisions here if he was a write-in candidate in the state of Colorado?
That's untested. That's untested, but it seems like if you're disqualified under the 14th Amendment under Section 3, it means you can't run for office, you can't hold office. Now, that would be a decision I think that Congress would have to make when they certify the 2024 election. It would be a very interesting question if you can write in a candidate who's been taken off the ballot, if they can still conserve. Look, here's the problem. Why are the Democrats pushing us to this point, right? Why did the Democrats wait 30 months to bring 4 separate indictments and time them, stack them back to back to back to interfere in the presidential election for 2024? Why are they trying to gag, illegally, unconstitutionally, gag a criminal defendant who happens to be the leading presidential candidate? If anyone in America needs the constitutional right to speak out against the prosecutor, the judge, the court staff, the witnesses in the process, it is a criminal defendant going through a process. It is clearly a First Amendment violation. It is clearly an illegal prior restraint on President Trump's free speech rights to gag him, as even the ACLU felt compelled to weigh in on in one of these cases. You have these Democrat prosecutors and these Democrat judges and these overwhelmingly Democrat jury pools and these Democrat hellholes like New York, D.C., and Atlanta who think they're going to decide the next election instead of the American people. And that's just not going to fly with the American people.
Well, I mean, listen, by what you're saying to me is that he's most likely not going to be on the ballot in the state of Colorado. Other states are going to file similar suits using Colorado's case as precedent. Washington D.C. is where Jack Smith is trying his case. You got Fulton County, where you have Fannie Willis. Atlanta suburb, basically very Democratic. Then New York City, of course, with Letitia James, who's been in the courtroom every single day during this civil trial. It seems like it doesn't look good for former President Trump, given the bias of all of these AGs and these judge and these jury pools. So what is, kind of to wrap this up, what do you see as President Trump's recourse in all of these cases? And do you think that they'll all be decided before the 2024 election?
There is no question that these Democrat prosecutors and these Democrat judges and these Democrat juries and these Democrat hellholes like D.C., New York, and Atlanta are going to railroad President Trump. They're going to convict him. They're going to try to jail him. The recourse is American voters showing up or voting ahead of time, hopefully. I hope Republicans learn their lessons from prior elections, but to make sure that President Trump wins the election on November 5th, 2024, so we can get back into the White House on January 20th, 2025. And guess what? If that happens, these federal cases go away. Jack Smith's January 6th case in D.C. goes away. Jack Smith's bogus Mar-a-Lago case for presidential records case goes away. And then it's going to be up to it's going to be up to the state of Georgia. It's going to be up to Governor Kemp and these Republicans and the legislature. Do they really think that they're going to let their state pursue and try to jail the president of the United States? I think they may have a problem with the Secret Service if they try to do that.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you so much for your time, Mike. I really appreciate your expertise in this, and we'll be following these cases, and I hope you can join us again as all these cases proceed.
Thank you.
All right, and that's this week's Politically Unstable. Thanks so much for joining us.